This video is the third in a series of reloading cowboy ammunition, showing the various types of bench-mounted presses that are suitable. We started with the single stage press, loaded 5 rounds of cowboy 38 special ammunition on that, showing you the various steps. And the point I made was that it's the reloading dies that do the work. The press is just a machine that holds the die or dies in place and holds the cartridge case while it's being worked through the dies. And then all the presses, the procedure is the same, the steps are the same, it's just the order in which they happen, and the efficiency is what makes the difference. So after showing you the single stage press, Vaquero Kid was nice enough to take a video showing loading 45 Colt, but the process is the same, on a Lee Classic turret press. And now the third video in the series, we're just going to demonstrate loading the same cowboy ammunition, the 38 special cowboy ammunition, on a progressive press. And a progressive press is one that handles multiple operations at once. The dies are in the press or in a tool head on top of the press. The cases are handled not by a shell holder that holds a single cartridge case, would be the what we have in a single stage or turret press, but rather a rotating shell plate where they go around in either clockwise or counterclockwise fashion, and all of the operations are performed at once. So everything happens pretty much at once on a progressive press. Most progressive presses are what we call auto-indexing, which means as you cycle the press, the shell plate rotates to the next station. The Lee Classic turret press that Vaquero Kid demonstrated for us is different from most of the turret presses on the market in that it also auto-indexes. Again, there's a single ram with a single shell holder on it, but as you operate that press, the turret holding the dies goes around. So that's actually pretty efficient, but it's also pretty simple because there's one cartridge case, and with each pull of the handle, you're only doing one operation at a time. With the progressive press, again, everything happens simultaneously. So what I've done here is I have to set the press up for a production run with the not only appropriate dies, but there is a powder measure built into or added onto this press rather than having it separate like we saw with the single stage. And it is a case-activated powder measure, so when there's a case in that station, it will cycle the powder measure to meter out the appropriate charge, which I've already set. But the other 3 dies that we used in the single-stage press are here as well. They work really the very same way. The other thing that we have with the progressive press is the priming. Adding a primer to the case is done as part of the operation, and this silver tube that you see back here is a shield actually, but internally there's the tube that holds, you can easily put 100 primers in there, which is what you get in a tray of primers. So I tend to do batches in groups of 100 on the progressive press. We also have, I have anyway, it's an option, but there, after the powder measure, I have this is an RCBS lockout die, and this is one of several options on the market. Another one that is familiar to many reloaders is the Hornady powder cop die, and what's different is the powder cop is a die that has a rod in the top of it, and all of these dies and devices are designed to help you ensure that you have the right amount of powder in the case before you see the bullet on it, to avoid problems with an undercharge or overcharge. And so the powder cop and some others are simply a monitor, and there's a rod with a little white O-ring on it that's visible, and you set it to the appropriate powder level, and as you cycle charge cases through, you watch the rod, and if you see that it's at the right level that you marked with the O-ring, you know that the powder level is okay. But you have to watch that, and if you don't watch it, it doesn't do anything. It just gives you that visual. The lockout die, not only there's a rod you can watch, but really the function of this is if it detects an overcharge or undercharge, it will stop your press. Some other devices, Double Alpha Academy has a magnetic powder check, which is really very nice, and it will give you an audible alarm if the powder charge is wrong. And it has the advantage, I like my lockout die a lot. It's mechanical, this die only works with straight wall pistol cartridges like the 38 Special that we're loading today. The Double Alpha device, it works with pistol and with bottleneck rifle, so that's great. But really, your problems with overcharges are usually more of a issue with pistol. And this is a way, again, it's a quality control or safety check. But without much more talking about it, let's get going here. And my press, I've added a case feeder, which is an option, didn't come with it. Some presses have available a bullet feeder that will also drop a bullet into the charge case. I don't have one. In fact, I don't have room for it. This is a 5-station press, and all 5 of my stations are busy. So we will just walk through. The first station is the same as the single stage. That's a resizing and decapping die. And you see the next cartridge case is coming down to go through that same die operation. I'm sorry, I was just inspecting that case because it's smudged and it just allows to make sure it wouldn't crack. These are cases that I have not cleaned, just like we did in single stage press. I just am keeping this very simple, and I just took some fired cases and I'm just reloading them without doing anything else to them, which is fine. I may do a later video about case cleaning, which is a chapter unto itself. So as I went into the second station, something I had to learn when I went from a single stage to progressive is I have to push this is true of many progressive presses, I had to push the handle forward and what that does is pushes the shell plate down onto the primer seater. So that puts the primer in the case. That first case is now going through the mouth expansion flaring die, so it's ready to accept a new bullet. See, they're all just lining up now. Now you'll see the case going up into the powder measure, activating the powder measure. Powder is dropped into that case now. And now it's going to go through the lockout die, and if that powder level is correct, it will cycle normally. And finally, in this last station is the one in which we use that number 3 die, which will seat a new bullet and also crimp the case. So we'll just set that in there manually. It's the only thing I have to do with this press manually is set the bullet in, because again, the case feeder feeds cases, right? And everything else is pretty much automated. So just like we did when we did the step on number 3 die in the single stage press, I just set it on top and make sure that it's reasonably straight, and it will go into the die. It will seat and crimp. Well, this is something that happens sometimes. Occasionally, it will drop 2 cases. I can probably have a little bit of a adjustment I need to do on this depth of this distance here to fix that. It's not a big deal. All right, so there's a completed cartridge, and it will now, if I will set a bullet on the next case, we're now in a position where every time we cycle the press, we get a loaded round. So that's 3. Four. And 5. We did 5 on the single stage press. And I was talking as usual and was not operating the press as quickly as I could have. You know, you never want to get in a big hurry anyway. It's not about speed. It's really about efficiency. And the progressive press gives you efficiency because A, you're not handling the same cartridge case multiple times in the reloading process, which is the problem, if you will, from an efficiency standpoint with the single stage press. Everything's happening at once. You know, I'm not touching that cartridge. It automatically ejected when it was finished into the catch bin here. So your only thing I have to do is run the press and set a bullet. If I had a bullet feeder all I'd have to do is pull the handle. And there are some progressive presses, when you get up into price range, that have auto drive. So there's an electric motor that even pulls the handle for you. So all you have to do is keep the thing full of primers, bullets, powder, and you sit back and have a cup of coffee, and it practically runs itself. Well, that's way outside, the budget of most of what most of us are going to do. But this gives you an idea of, in very general terms, as you go from single stage to turret to progressive press, you're certainly going up in terms of productivity and efficiency. How much time does it take you to load this ammunition? And again, we're not in a hurry, but when you shoot a cowboy match, if a new shooter, may take a minute to shoot a stage or a little less. 6 stages, you're actually shooting for 6 minutes. It may take you, and that's 120 rifle and pistol rounds in a monthly match. If it's going to take you half a day to load the ammo, I had observed at one point when I was shooting cowboy, still using my single stage press, it seemed like I spent as much time loading ammo for the match as I did attending the match, much less shooting it. So it's not that we want to get in a hurry. It's not that we want to load thousands of rounds of ammunition, but we just want to make time for other obligations and activities that we have to do. And this really helps. It's not necessary. Obviously, you can load it on the single stage press. The the turret press is amazingly efficient and for the price, and is a really good choice. In fact, the Lee Classic Turret Press is one that I've recommended to a lot of cowboy shooters who get into reloading. I mean, I think it just gives you a lot of bang for the buck, so to speak. I'm going to make another video about progressive press and whether that is a good choice for the new cowboy shooter, for the new reloader. Is it too much? Conventional wisdom says you never start with a progressive press. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Well, I hope you found this, without getting into all the details about how to set up dies and whatnot, just an idea of the function, when you're loading ammo, what does it look like? What do the machines look like? And so that you get an idea of what is available. And again, we'll talk to you soon about some other stuff, and we will see you on the range.